Welcome, Will Mahnke, House District 26B candidate, the South Dakota Property Rights and Local Control Alliance. Thanks to you for participating in our 2026 primary legislative candidate video survey. As a nonpartisan grassroots organization, SDPRLCA is dedicated to protecting private property rights and maintaining local authority. Following the 2024 general election, where 65 of 66 South Dakota counties voted no on Referred Law 21, voters are eager to hear where the 2027 legislative class stands on these core issues. And here are the ground rules. There will be an introduction period of 1.5 minutes, 5 targeted questions, which you should have received ahead of time. 2 minutes are allowed per response, and then you'll have a closing statement of 2 minutes. Upon completion of the video survey, you'll log off the call, and then all 5 questions will focus specifically on property rights and local control. The candidates receive the specific set of 5 questions in advance, as I said before. We are recording, and the recordings will be posted on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and website. And so we will go ahead and get started with our introduction. I'd like you to introduce yourself to the voters. Please tell us about your background, your connection to your district, and what specific conviction or event led you to step forward and run for the South Dakota legislature in 2026.
All right. My name is Will Mahnke, and I'm running for the South Dakota House District 26B because I believe our communities deserve real conservative representation, not politicians who campaign one way and govern another. I'm a husband, a father, a Christian, a small business owner, and a former firefighter and EMT. I am a mental health professional, and my entire life has been about serving people, listening to people, and standing beside people during some of the hardest moments of their lives. I believe government should work for the people, not corporations, not political insiders, and not outside interests trying to reshape South Dakota into something we never asked for. I believe in protecting our rural way of life, our land, our water, our agricultural communities, and most importantly, our rights. One issue I am deeply passionate about is property rights. I believe that if a person owns property, then it is their property, not the government's, not corporations, and not political projects. I do not support government overreach, and I demand local control. South Dakota was built by hardworking, independent people who believe in freedom, personal responsibility, and local control. And that's what I will fight to protect. I'm not against growth, but I am against reckless growth that benefits political insiders while everyday South Dakotans lose their land, their voice, and their way of life. This campaign is about putting the people of District 26B first and making sure South Dakota stays South Dakota. I feel that's been threatened, and that's why I decided to get into this campaign. Can't hear you, Gail.
I'm sorry, I put myself on mute and forgot to unmute. Let's get into our questions. So the very first question is district specific. What do you identify as the primary property rights issue in your district, and what is your single most serious concern regarding it? That is resource depletion, loss of local control, or unintended consequences.
I've got a couple. Unintended consequences, I guess, are the gist of that. One of the biggest concerns I currently have in District 26B is progressive candidates campaigning as conservative South Dakotans. South Dakotans deserve honesty, transparency, not politicians who use titles like conservative while advocating for data centers, fake meat, and progressive agenda. We have candidates and political groups openly supporting fake meat initiative, massive data centers, future funds that hand taxpayer dollars to foreign-owned corporations, and hostile corporate expansion that local communities do not want. South Dakotans should not be forced to subsidize corporations that do not share our values or respect our communities. A major example of this isn't in my district, but is the China-owned Smithfield expansion that the local people do not want. Another serious concern is the proposed Missouri River Pipeline project to West River. From my understanding, multiple proposals have been tied together, including water supply discussions involving Ellsworth Air Force Base and additional western expansion projects. Current discussions involve 25 billion gallons of water annually. Some people say that's, it's like 0.3%. That's only a fraction of what Lake Oahe holds, but that's in a good year. Anyone who has lived through drought years understands. Water conditions change quickly. It's one of our most valuable resources, and my concern isn't necessarily the people that it may benefit, but once a military installation is tied to something, they have overriding control in the name of national security, and that limits local control. I also have growing concerns about large-scale solar farms in our area, and of course, the massive data centers consuming all of our resources and emitting all kinds of different pollutions that hurt people. How am I doing on time?
You are doing fabulous. We've got 5 seconds left.
All right, District 26B in South Dakota deserves representation that puts the people first, not foreign corporations, not global interests, and not the political machine.
All right. Question number 2, your action plan. What specific legislative action or policy change would you champion to address this issue?
As far as the candidate issue, ultimately it falls on the people to do their homework and truly know who they are voting for. However, there should be some accountability at every level of government. If a candidate campaigns on a platform that blatantly governs against the values and promises they ran on, there should be accountability. Regarding water situation, I believe more research and accurate inside information is needed before major decisions are made, not just headlines, polished press releases, or political crafted talking points. The people deserve transparency, honesty, and facts if we're going to do things like this that affect so many people. I strongly believe every community affected by these projects should have a voice in the process. Local governments should maintain control. The people who live near and depend on the Missouri River should have a seat at that table. From north to south and through my district, the people should have control of their natural resources. I would fight to ensure that local communities, property owners, and counties bordering the Missouri River maintain their rights, authority, and protections. Local laws and local voices should not simply be overridden by federal agencies or outside interests under broad claims of national security. Americans have grown skeptical whenever someone says, "We're the government and we're here to help," because history has shown that the government overreach often comes at the expense of local control, individual liberty, and the people most directly affected. South Dakota communities deserve transparency, representation, and a real seat at the table before massive infrastructure projects permanently reshape our land, water, economy, and way of life. Growth should happen, but on the people's terms.
Perfect. All right. Question number 3, core components. Property rights involve the right to possess, control, exclude, enjoy, and dispose. How is the right to exclusion at risk from state mandates in your district, and how will you protect it?
This question directly relates to why I think we need a valid, viable plan that does not rob from one group to give money to another in order to eliminate property taxes. If property can be taken from you, then you do not truly own it. Especially, the government can still lay claim to it. I do not know exactly what that plan looks like yet. I would love to put a team together that could assess all of the good parts of all of the plans and eliminate any rob Peter to pay Paul aspects. But the plans I have seen so far seem more about lining someone else's pocket than actually helping the people of South Dakota. I've heard people say that some eminent domain is okay, such as if they need to run power lines across someone's property. I say absolutely not. If a company or government entity cannot work out a deal with the person who owns that property, they need to go around. That's their property, and that's their right. Unless someone is actively harming another person or someone else's property, no one else should have claim to it. My belief follows a quote from the movie Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood. "Get off my lawn."
I love it. All right. Question number 4. Under what specific circumstances, if any, do you believe eminent domain should be used for projects owned by private corporations?
If a property is not harming the environment around them, or other people, or other people's property, they should be left alone. Eminent domain reminds me of manifest destiny. in the name of growth and expansion, do what you want, how you want, and kill them if they get in your way. I cannot allow that. I am very passionate about people's personal and property rights, and I will fight to make sure those rights remain. So I am not for eminent domain.
All right. All right, question number 5, local control. Describe a scenario in which local control is not enough protection.
If a corporation or federal government is trying to rob an individual or a family or a community of their rights, it would be the duty of the state to protect those people. We are beholden to the people of South Dakota, not the federal government. The government on all levels are supposed to be for the people, of the people, by the people, and somehow this has gotten completely flipped around. I believe it is from the same groups who are trying to buy elections across our entire state right now with super PAC money. We need to get our country back by electing grassroots conservatives who do not sell out to corporate and government machines. We must first come together as community, as county, as state, in that order. As a representative, my job is to listen and reflect the will and the beliefs, the values and the voice of my constituents. And with all the people I have spoken with during this campaign, I have heard them cry out, "We have had enough." Please vote responsibly this year.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll move into our closing, and we have 2 minutes for this as well. As we head toward the June 2nd primary, it's vital that voters know how to reach their potential representatives. For our final 2 minutes, please let the folks in District 26B, know how they can contact you directly, where they can pick up a sign to show their support, how they can join your team as a volunteer, and how to give donations.
All right, thank you. Again, my name is Will Mahnke for House 26B. You can find out more about me on www.willmahnke.southdakota.sdhouse.org. And I believe it'll be up on the screen at some point. Check out my Facebook. And feel free to get a hold of me over the phone. I do ask that you text me first. I'm much more responsive through text or email, as Facebook Messenger doesn't always get me notifications right away. There's a QR code on the screen if you'd like to support this grassroots campaign. Any amount is an absolute blessing. And I'm an open book. If you want to get a hold of me and have conversation, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to poke and prod just to see who I am, I invite it. And I appreciate everybody's attention tonight. Thank you.